Dan Spivey wasn't some polite journeyman chasing fame. He was a 6'6" Florida bruiser who could take your head off and still smile like a youth pastor on parole. Fans remember Waylon Mercy, the creepy, soft-spoken gimmick from '95, but the real man behind it, way scarier. Before he was quoting Bible verses and grinning in Hawaiian shirts, Spivey was smashing jaws, calling out legends, and collecting receipts like a damn tax auditor. He came up hard, played football at Georgia, and carried that linebacker temper straight into every locker room he entered. He didn't fake the danger. He was the danger. You either respected him or got bulldozed trying not to. Ask Adrian Adonis, who learned the hard way in Flint. Ask Ric Flair, who couldn't politic his way out of Spivey's memory. Ask the Road Warriors, who thought money made them untouchable. Ask Bret Hart, who called him stiff, and got exactly what he asked for. This is Dan Spivey, the man the gimmick barely contained. And tonight we're cracking open the truth behind that twisted smile. Dan Spivey was born in Tampa, Florida, a city full of heat, attitude, and enough bad decisions to fill a WCW pay-per-view. He grew up tall, mean, and way too competitive for anyone's comfort. By the time most kids were learning patience, Spivey was learning how to hit people without saying sorry. Football became his first outlet. At the University of Georgia, he wasn't some mascot-loving sweetheart. He was the guy your coach warned you not to piss off in practice. Every snap, every collision. It was controlled violence, and Spivey thrived on it. That aggression never left him. He'd later admit football didn't teach him teamwork. It just taught him how to channel rage with precision. After college, he chased the pro game briefly, but the NFL wasn't built for that kind of temperament. Too many suits, too much structure, not enough blood. So, when wrestling came knocking, it wasn't destiny. It was the next logical fight. Florida. In the early 80s was a training ground for maniacs. The gyms smelled like ammonia and sweat, and every handshake was a test. Spivey fit in instantly, not because of skill, but because no one wanted to tell him no. He was 6'6", shredded, and had that unspoken aura that said, "Try me once." Old school trainers saw money in him, but veterans saw a problem they couldn't control. He wasn't there to perform. He was there to prove that his intensity was real, and if you thought he was green, he'd make you bleed until you thought otherwise. The football player was gone. The fighter was born. When Dan Spivey broke into wrestling, the business was already a mess of egos and hidden knives. He didn't walk in soft, he walked in swinging. Early days in Florida and the Carolinas, he learned quick that being polite got you buried, so he didn't bother. He made his name by hitting harder than everyone else and daring anyone to complain about it. His early tag run with Mike Rotunda in the WWF as the Second U.S. Express was supposed to be his big break. Same music, same patriotic energy, different chemistry. But fans didn't buy it. They missed Barry Windham, and Spivey wasn't there to smile through rejection. He hated the backstage politics, hated the fake smiles, and hated being told to slow down when half the locker room couldn't keep up. He wasn't losing matches. He was losing patience. In Japan, though, he came alive. That stiff, shoot-first energy worked overseas, where fans respected real punishment. Spivey became known for taking liberties and not caring who complained. He'd lay in shots that echoed through buildings, then act like it was just another Tuesday. Guys would go to the promoter and say, "He's too rough," and the promoter would shrug, because Spivey sold tickets. By the time he hit WCW, he wasn't the new guy anymore. He was the guy nobody wanted to stiff first. He'd return the favor, and he'd make you remember it. Those early years didn't just build his career, they built his reputation. Big, mean, Florida loud, and dangerously real. He wasn't a company man. He was a problem that companies had to manage. Waylon Mercy wasn't just a gimmick. It was a walking, talking headache for anyone nearby. Soft voice, Hawaiian shirt, creepy calm. But backstage, Spivey was a storm in a 6'6" frame. He didn't need to yell. He didn't need to threaten. A single glare, a stiff lockup, and guys remembered who they were dealing with. He respected few. He feared no one. His promos were hypnotic. Fans leaned in, thinking it was all act. Other wrestlers leaned out, hoping the act stayed in the ring. Spivey's intensity bled through every syllable. The aura was real, and the heat he generated backstage was realer. Addiction and personal demons only sharpened that edge. He admitted later he was hard to work with, and he didn't apologize for it. In shoot interviews, he laughed about stiff matches, careless opponents, and the ones who thought he was just a nice guy in a creepy costume. He wasn't. This was influence you couldn't buy. The Waylon Mercy gimmick taught others subtlety. how to creep, manipulate, and control a crowd without breaking kayfabe. But Spivey taught real fear too. Legends, mid-carders, and rookies all learned one rule: respect him, or get embarrassed, or worse. Even the biggest names in locker rooms admitted it. Spivey's aura made them pause. He could have been a top star if he played nice. He didn't. He never played. Dan Spivey versus Adrian Adonis wasn't a match. It was a warning shot. Flint, Michigan, mid-'80s. The card said, friendly tag. Reality said, let's see who survives. Adonis had a reputation for working recklessly. Spivey? He had a reputation for not tolerating it. Combine the two, and it got ugly fast. According to Spivey, Adonis started kicking him harder than needed, calling him every insult in the book, and treating him like a punching bag for laughs. Spivey didn't take it. He started kicking me really hard, calling me a stupid son of a bitch. I was pissed after the match. I was going to fight him right there. Dan Spivey, recounting the 1986 Flint incident, he said that the following night, Vince McMahon had to intervene personally because of the damage done. When Vince told him, Dan, I can't have you beating up my talent, Spivey shot back cold. He's not that talented, though. That's not wrestling folklore, that's a verified shoot. Every word came from Spivey himself, not a retelling or rumor. This wasn't kayfabe, this was a legit shoot. Locker rooms whispered, promoters feared, and fans had no idea. Adonis learned fast, never test Spivey. Others watched, knowing if they crossed him, there was no referee to save them. The Flint incident cemented Spivey's reputation, a man who didn't just talk tough, he enforced it. Adonis v. Spivey wasn't a highlight reel, it was a cautionary tale, and in every locker room after, his name carried the weight of unspoken rules. Cross him, and you might leave hospital-bound. When you mix ego, cash, and two men built like bulldozers, you're not getting brotherhood, you're getting explosions. Dan Spivey respected the Road Warriors, but he didn't trust them. Nobody who dealt with Hawk and Animal ever fully did. The story goes back to their Japan tours. Both sides were headliners, both drawing money. But when the payoffs came, things didn't add up. Spivey noticed he was taking stiffer shots and smaller checks. You can hit him hard, or you can pay him right. You don't get to do both. He called it what it was, a business screwjob. In old interviews, Spivey admitted there were money issues that caused tension overseas. It wasn't about pride, it was about fairness. He hated seeing promoters and top names skim, and he wasn't afraid to say it out loud. Most guys kept quiet. Spivey wasn't most guys. Hawk took it personally, the kind of personal that ends in swinging fists backstage. The two had a legit blow-up in the locker room, with witnesses saying it nearly turned into a full shoot fight before others stepped in. Hawk respected power, and Spivey was one of the few who could match him pound for pound. That's why it stopped there. The money tension never fully died, though. Even years later, Spivey would throw subtle jabs about guys who made sure they got their envelopes first. He didn't fake his resentment, he broadcast it. The Road Warriors had dominance, Spivey had defiance. And when those forces clashed, nobody walked out smiling. It wasn't respect lost, it was trust destroyed. And in the business of bad blood, that's permanent. Dan Spivey and Bret Hart didn't click. No politics, no gimmicks, just bad chemistry and bad blood. They worked together in the mid-'80s, when Bret and the Hart Foundation were climbing, and Spivey was still trying to find his spot. Bret didn't like his style. Spivey didn't care. Spivey worked rough, tight, and real. Bret wanted precision, rhythm, control. That mix turned ugly. Bret went public later, saying Spivey was too stiff and hard to trust in the ring. Spivey fired back, saying Bret was full of himself and treated anyone outside his circle like dirt. He said Bret was good, but he wasn't God. Their matches got tense, lockups turned into tests of strength, chops got heavier. Bret accused him of sandbagging spots. Spivey accused Bret of playing victim. No one backed down. By 1987, the tension was locker room gossip. Some said Bret pushed to avoid working with him. Others said Spivey's own attitude made that easy. Either way, it was real heat. No promo, no payoff. Just two guys who couldn't stand each other's approach. Years later, Spivey didn't pretend to forgive. In shoot interviews, he said he respected Bret's success, but never liked his arrogance. He added that Bret's version of professionalism meant, you work like me, or you're wrong. Spivey worked like Spivey. No punches thrown, no police reports, no friendship. Just bad memories and a shared hatred of each other's philosophy. And in wrestling, that's worse than a fight, because it lingers. Bret walked away the hero. Spivey walked away unfiltered. Neither forgot. Neither wanted to. If there was ever a collision between chaos and control, it was Dan Spivey and Ric Flair. Flair ran the locker room like a boardroom. Spivey didn't take meetings, he started fights. Their issues weren't a secret. Spivey told in a shoot in 2006 that Flair didn't like my style, didn't like how I talked to him, and definitely didn't like that I didn't kiss his ass. It wasn't just words. Flair saw Spivey as unpredictable, a guy who'd throw live rounds if he felt disrespected. In an era where Flair protected his position through politics, Spivey's bluntness was suicide. Multiple wrestlers from that time, including Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda, have said Spivey was blacklisted from NWA main events. The word came from the top. Flair didn't want him in his orbit. Spivey's name started to disappear from key cards, replaced by smoother workers Flair could control. Years later, Spivey admitted in a 2011 radio interview that he respected Flair's ability, but not his bullshit. He didn't bury him, he just called it straight. Flair, meanwhile, never mentioned Spivey by name in his book, a quiet snub that said plenty. The tension never exploded into a fight, but it didn't have to. The damage was political, not physical. Flair didn't need to throw punches, he had a pen and pull. And when he used both, Spivey's push was done. Flair might have been the man, but Spivey was the guy who never bowed to him. And that's the one thing Flair couldn't forgive. When the boots came off, Dan Spivey didn't exactly ride into the sunset. He limped out of it. Decades of chair shots, stiff shots, and political gut punches caught up fast. He retired officially in 1995 after a brutal run that left him burned out and bitter toward the business. But the man didn't disappear. Spivey resurfaced years later looking completely different, sober, grounded, and brutally honest. He opened up in multiple interviews about his past drug and alcohol issues, saying wrestling ate me alive, and I let it. Unlike a lot of the boys from that era, he actually got help. Today, Spivey works quietly outside the ring, helping others battling the same addictions that nearly killed him. He's done motivational speaking, recovery work, and appeared at fan conventions where he's surprisingly candid. When fans ask about his old feuds, he doesn't sugarcoat it. He admits he was his own worst enemy at times, but says he always stood up for himself. Spivey's not chasing nostalgia or begging for Hall of Fame nods. He's content being remembered as the guy who didn't play the game. No politics, no filters, no fake smiles. In a 2016 shoot, Spivey says, "I got peace now, that's all I ever wanted." Coming from a guy who once made Adrian Adonis bleed buckets and made Ric Flair nervous backstage, that's saying something. He might not have been the most successful, but Spivey walked away alive, clean and unapologetic. And for that generation, that's a win. Dan Spivey didn't play wrestling politics, he played survival. He walked into every locker room like he didn't give a damn whose name was on the door. And that's exactly why half of them shut it behind him. He wasn't a company guy. He wasn't a handshaker. He was the guy you hoped wasn't in your match when the booking sheet went up. From busting open Adonis, to calling out Flair, to falling out with the Road Warriors, he didn't fake a thing. Even Bret Hart admitted Spivey was too intense for some guys. No kidding. Spivey's legacy isn't about titles, it's about truth. He was raw, unpredictable, and at times his own worst enemy. But he was never a coward, and he never played nice to get ahead. He left the business battered but free, which is more than most of his generation can say. Now he's clean, grounded, and doesn't care who remembers his name. He found peace in a world that once thrived on chaos, and that's his final middle finger to the system that buried him. Dan Spivey didn't die a legend. He lived like one, and that's much harder. You're watching the truth get dragged out one busted ego at a time. If you're still here, can I ask if you could hit that like button? If you're soft, though, maybe don't. Subscribe for more real stories that the business tried to bury. No kayfabe, no filters, just the shoot that still stings. Thanks for watching.